Okay, so have you ever, like, I don't know, been driving and you're totally lost
Hmm.
and your GPS, it's like rerouting in that voice?
Yeah, yeah.
Did you ever, like, even for a second think, like, oh, thanks for trying again?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, you almost want to be like, thanks, buddy.
Absolutely.
It's so weird. It's like this urge to be, like, polite to technology, even when we know it's just, like, circuits and code.
It's more common than you think. It's this instinct,
Really?
yeah, to treat computers like they're actually social beings.
Hmm.
And it's way deeper than
Yeah.
just like, being polite to your GPS.
Okay.
That's what we're diving into today, this really powerful effect.
Okay.
It's called computers as social actors.
Hmm.
CASA for short.
Got it.
And we're going to unpack the research, the psychology behind it, and explore how it like impacts everything.
Really?
Yeah, from the apps you use on your phone to the future of, how we even see computers.
So it's not just me being weird and like attached to my GPS. There's actual science behind this.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
CASA isn't about consciously thinking, my laptop is my DFF.
Right.
It's much more subtle, almost subconscious, right?
Okay.
Like our brains are wired for social interaction.
Yeah. Makes
So we've got all these mental shortcuts, these social rules we use to like navigate the world quickly, right?
Right. We're hardwired for connection. Figure out who's who in the zoo, so to
Right,
speak.
exactly.
Yeah.
But computers, especially with all the advances in AI, they kind of accidentally trigger those same social circuits in our brains.
Mhm.
Think about it. Computers use language, tone of voice, even like try to simulate emotions now.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And our brains go, oh, this must be another social being,
Wow.
even though it's just, ones and zeros, lines of code.
So our brains are like playing catch up with the digital age, still stuck on like analog settings.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And researchers have actually found some really cool examples of this in action.
Like what?
Like, did you know that people are more likely to trust a computer voice
Uh-huh.
if it aligns with gender stereotypes?
Wait, really?
Yeah.
So, like, if I need relationship advice, I should trust a female voice, even if it's coming from a computer.
Precisely. Or like if you need help troubleshooting like a tech issue,
Yeah.
you might find a male voice more credible.
Interesting.
It's even wilder. You know that feeling of obligation you get when someone does you a favor? Turns out, even computers can trigger that.
Hold on. Computers doing us favors. I need an example because this is already blowing my mind.
Okay, so let's say a program helps you finish a task really efficiently or
Hmm.
gives you some positive feedback.
Okay.
You might, without even realizing it, be more inclined to keep using that program
Hmm.
or even rate it more favorably. Almost like you're returning the favor,
Yeah, wow.
It's that deep-seated social programming kicking in where it doesn't quite belong.
Wow. I'd never thought of it like that, but it makes so much sense.
Right.
Yeah. And this isn't just some like abstract tech theory, right?
Yeah.
This impacts how companies design the stuff we use every day.
Absolutely. And that's actually a perfect example. We can go to a classic example,
Okay.
the Eliza effect.
Okay.
Remember Eliza, the OG chatbot?
Vaguely, like a therapist program?
Exactly.
Okay.
Eliza basically simulated a Rogerian psychotherapist,
Okay.
but reflecting back the user's own words.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
People felt incredibly heard by Eliza.
Really?
They attributed like real emotion, real understanding
Wow.
to a program that was basically just a glorified mirror.
You've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
People were pouring their hearts out to a program that was just rearranging their sentences.
That's the Eliza effect in a nutshell.
Wow.
And it totally blindsided Eliza's creator, Joseph Weissenbaum.
Hmm.
He never intended for this to happen.
Wow.
He was actually kind of disturbed by how intense people's reactions were. And he even said, and I quote, "I had not realized that extremely short exposures to a relatively simple computer program could induce powerful delusional thinking in quite normal people."
Okay, that's both fascinating and a little creepy.
Right.
Yeah. Like, our brains are that desperate for connection that we just, like, project human qualities onto anything that's remotely responsive.
It really highlights how deeply rooted those social instincts are.
Yeah.
But to understand why we're so susceptible to CASA,
Okay.
we need to like delve into the psychology behind the curtain.
Okay.
And that's where things get really interesting.
So we've established our brains are kind of wired for connection.
Yeah.
Sometimes to a little bit of a scary degree.
Right.
But what's the actual, like, I don't know, mechanism at play here? Why are we so quick to be like, oh, this computer has a whole personality?
It all comes down to like how our brains process information, right?
Okay.
We're constantly bombarded with so much sensory input.
Yeah, for sure.
And to cope, our brains have developed these like brilliant shortcuts called heuristics.
Okay.
You can think of them like mental rules of thumb
Gotcha.
that help us make quick judgments, decisions,
Right.
without getting bogged down in every little detail.
So we're all about efficiency up
The
there.
efficiency is key.
Okay.
It-
But how do these heuristics like play into CASA?
So some of the most powerful heuristics we have are social heuristics.
Okay.
These are the shortcuts that we use to navigate the very complex world of like social interaction,
Okay.
right? They help us quickly assess things like trustworthiness, competence, even attractiveness, all based on these subtle cues, signals we pick up on.
So our brains are constantly sizing up the situation, looking for those like social clues.
Exactly. And in most cases, these social heuristics work really well, right?
Right.
But when we're talking about technology,
Yeah.
it gets messy
How so?
because computers, with their increasing ability to like mimic human communication,
Right.
they accidentally trip those social alarm bells in our brain. So we see a chatbot responding with like perfect grammar and a friendly tone, maybe a little emoji.
Right.
And our brains go, another human,
Right.
someone to either befriend or be wary of.
Right. Friend or foe.
Right. Even though,
Yeah.
again, it's just algorithms doing their thing.
So it's almost like our social wiring, which is supposed to help us in the real world, kind of backfires in the digital age.
In a way, yeah, our brains haven't quite caught up to the fact that we're now interacting with machines on a pretty regular basis. And it's not just heuristics at play here.
Okay.
Cognitive biases also feed into this whole CASA thing.
Cognitive biases, those are like those mental blind spots, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That mess with our judgment.
They're like systematic errors in thinking
Right.
that arise from our brain's tendency to want to simplify information processing.
Okay.
And they could really amplify the CASA effect.
Okay.
So, for example, there's confirmation bias,
Okay.
where, we tend to favor information that confirms our pre-existing beliefs.
Oh, yeah, for sure. If I think a certain brand is like the best, I'm going to ignore all the bad reviews.
Exactly. Now, apply that to technology, right?
Okay.
Let's say you're using a new fitness app.
Yeah.
And you've already bought into their message of like personalized support.
Right.
You might interpret its encouraging notifications as like proof that it really gets you, even if it's just sending generic messages to millions of users.
Right. It's like, oh, the algorithm knows me so well.
It's like, this app is my best friend.
Yeah, exactly. Which was kind of freaky when you think about it.
It is a little creepy.
But it also explains why all those like personalized marketing tactics work so well.
Exactly. And it highlights why understanding CASA is so important.
Okay.
Because these tendencies we have, these social heuristics, these cognitive biases, they're not always just harmless, quirky things.
Right.
They can have real-world consequences,
Okay.
especially as technology gets, more advanced.
So it's not just about, being polite to our GPS or thinking our fitness app is our best friend.
Right.
We're talking about something much bigger.
Oh, yeah. We're talking about like the very nature of how we interact with technology and how those interactions actually shape our perceptions, our decisions, even our relationships with other people.
Okay. I'm listening.
Like, for instance, think about the world of online reviews.
Oh my God. Don't even get me started. I spend way too much time reading Amazon reviews before I buy anything, but it's like, how do I even know those are real people?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
And that's where CASA comes in.
Okay.
Because we are wired to trust those social cues,
Right.
right? We're more likely to trust a review that sounds personal, even if we have no clue who wrote it. We might even be swayed by a profile picture.
Right.
Or a username that makes the reviewer seem, I don't know, more relatable, trustworthy.
Totally. Like, I'm way more likely to trust a review from Sarah L., mom of two, than like,
Right.
reviewer 365.
Exactly. Anonymous user.
Yeah, exactly. Even though Sarah L. could be a bot, who knows?
Exactly. And that's the power of CASA, right?
Wow.
It's tapping into those really deep-seated instincts, those mental shortcuts, to influence our behavior
Yeah.
in ways that we don't even realize.
Wow.
And it's not just reviews, right?
Yeah.
Think about virtual influencers,
Oh, yeah.
AI-generated news articles, even the way that some apps are designed to keep us scrolling for hours.
Right, that endless scroll.
Right. All of that plays into this.
Okay, now I'm both fascinated and kind of terrified, I'm not going to lie. So
Yeah.
where do we go from here? Right.
What does it mean to live in a world where like technology is so good at playing on our like very human instincts?
Right, it's a big question.
It's almost like we're caught in this weird paradox where technology is supposed to like connect us, but it's also like using that very human need for connection against us, you know?
Yeah, and it brings up these big questions about like the future of how we even interact with computers at all.
Right, because it's only going to get more intense from here.
Well,
Right.
yeah. As AI gets more, I don't know, sophisticated, that line between what's a person and what's a machine, it's going to get a bit blurrier and blurrier.
Okay, so like paint me a picture of the future, right? What happens when computers are like basically as good as humans at talking and interacting?
Well, for one, all those CASA effects we've been talking about, they're going to
Yeah.
be on overdrive.
Our social heuristics, our biases, they're going to be working overtime, right?
Right.
We might start forming like surprisingly strong attachments to AI companions, trusting them with really personal stuff,
Oh, for sure. People already do that.
even like preferring their company over actual humans sometimes, you know?
It's like that episode of Black Mirror where everyone's obsessed with their like virtual avatars, but in real life, they're totally isolated.
Right. It's not that far-fetched, is it?
Not at all.
And it really makes you think about what even is human connection then?
Yeah. I mean, if a computer can be your friend, can be empathetic, can even like simulate love,
Right. Where does that leave us?
what does that mean for how we connect with each other?
Exactly. Are we going to get to a point where, like, we prefer interacting with these machines that are programmed to, I don't know, tell us what we want to hear that never disagree with us?
Yeah, it's that whole like, are we living in a simulation question, but on a whole other level?
Right. And then there's the flip side.
Which is,
What happens to our sense of self? Like, what makes us human if machines can just perfectly reflect us back to ourselves?
whoa, that's deep. Okay, so big existential questions here.
Right. And these are things we got to be thinking about now, not like 10 years down the line when it's too late, you know?
So it's not just about understanding CASA, it's about understanding what it means for like humanity as a whole.
Exactly. It's not enough to just be aware of it.
Okay, so where do we even start? What can like an average person who just likes their gadgets, what can we do?
Well, I think a good first step is just being more mindful.
Okay.
Like, pay attention to how you're interacting with tech. Notice those moments where you feel, I don't know, overly trusting, or like you owe a computer program something.
Mm.
Ask yourself, like, is this thing actually helping me? Or am I just being played by some algorithm or by my own brain wanting to see it as something it's not?
It's like we have to be like tech detectives, constantly questioning our own motives.
In a way, yeah. It's about taking back control.
Right, taking back control.
Being aware and making conscious choices
Yeah.
about how much we let technology influence us, you know?
So basically, the takeaway from this deep dive into CASA is our brains might be wired for connection, but that wiring can be hacked. But by being aware of that, we can be smarter, more conscious users of technology.
Absolutely. The
Yeah.
future's not set in stone, right? It's up to us to shape how we want to interact with these machines, how we want them to enhance our lives without, like, losing ourselves in the process.
Right. So the next time you catch yourself thanking your GPS, maybe take a second to think about why.
Exactly. Think about what it really means to connect.
Lots to ponder. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone. Until next time.